Welcome to our brief video all about integrating online prevention work with other student affairs roles. My name is Jason Davis, and I am NASPA's Assistant Director of Peer Education Initiatives and Training Programs. Today, I'll be talking about some general tips and strategies to keep in mind, as many of our typical roles on campus are looking very different due to the changes brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. This video is for almost anyone working on campus. We know that prevention works best when it is everybody's responsibility to contribute, not just the folks in your health promotion department or health center. Now is no different. Perhaps your primary role is not directly tied to health and well-being, like some of the ones up here, but your work has transitioned to touch that area a little bit more closely during this time. Or maybe you wear lots of different hats in your role, and one of those is focused on health promotion. This might be more common at smaller institutions. No matter what your role, if you are looking for some ways to make sure you are being as effective as possible right now, this video is for you. First, let's go over some of the impacts the COVID-19 pandemic has had and is still having on our students. As this is an unprecedented event in higher education's recent history, we are seeing a great deal of change happening very quickly. This can contribute to heightened stress levels as students adapt to new academic procedures, such as virtual classes, while also keeping up with the latest news on COVID-19 and dealing with other potential concerns, such as social isolation. Many institutions have also canceled commencements and other special events occurring this spring. Students may experience a sense of loss or grief over this, as events like these are important and meaningful. There may also be a sense of loss of life as it was before, as students come to terms with social distancing recommendations and alterations to their normal routines. There may be significant concerns about a student's own physical health, especially if they are a high-risk individual, or that of their loved ones. We also know students may depend on their institution for access to basic needs, such as safe housing, food, or even income if they are participating in on-campus jobs or work-study opportunities. If other options are not readily available and accessible, students may struggle to provide for their own basic needs. Additionally, public discourse surrounding COVID-19 may lead to racism towards Asian or Asian American students, and travel restrictions imposed by the government may have significant impacts for international students or those connected to study abroad programs. In this vein, you may consider seeing what you can do to determine specific needs on your campus for certain student populations. As higher education professionals, we can make very educated guesses about students' needs that are often at least partially correct. If you were to ask students what they want or need from you right now, you may be surprised and newly inspired with fresh ideas. With that said, let's move into some recommendations for student affairs professionals to make sure that we are continuing our efforts at promoting well-being among our students. Our first recommendation here is to try and prioritize. You may be pulled in many different directions right now, or you may feel caught up in a storm of new ideas to implement. Consider asking yourself these questions. What is most important? Importance can come from a number of sources, including student needs or identified departmental and institutional priorities. Based on your experience and understanding of the underpinning theoretical frameworks of your role, what do you believe will have the greatest positive impact for students? This is where you can make some informed decisions about where to initially invest your resources based on what is likely to be effective. What is your current capacity? Keeping in mind that we as professionals are also impacted by the same issues we just went over, it is important to consider what we have the capacity to do right now. If you don't have the capacity to create an entirely new program from scratch, could you adapt something that you are already doing for online delivery? If so, make sure to consider how the necessary program adaptation to do this could impact effectiveness. Finally, ask yourself how you can integrate messages about prioritizing well-being and prevention into other things you may be doing, such as advising student groups, meeting one-on-one with students, or facilitating other types of programs. Don't try to do everything alone. Consider which of your colleagues could partner with you to make your efforts more successful. Student leaders may also be looking for ways to help out right now. Work with them so that they can support what you are doing, as we know that student volunteers and peer educators can be a great source of extra capacity to reach your campus population. Our team has produced a video on just that topic that you can also check out, titled Peer Education Advisors in the Virtual Space. In addition, make sure you are aware of various resources to assist in your work or to which you can refer students who may be struggling, especially resources related to online and distance learning. You might find it helpful to build a virtual bank of resources that you can look to when needed. Since our capacity may be a limiting factor during this time, we want to make sure we are focusing our efforts by using practices that are evidence-based. While we won't go too deep into specifics in this video, our team has put together another video specifically geared towards prevention professionals that will give you a solid introduction to this idea. However, you can see here some initial resources and frameworks to consider as you attempt to determine what works. The social ecological model and strategic prevention framework in particular are great resources to help you think through what kinds of activities and programs will be the best use of your time. In addition, it will be important to make sure you have a way to assess your efforts, even though in-person programs may be suspended. Make sure you are using both process and outcome measures, which you can see described briefly here. Process measures include asking about participant satisfaction, the reach of a program, and other questions like those. Outcome measures, on the other hand, should directly connect to your identified program outcomes. How is what I am doing impacting students' knowledge, attitudes, or behavior? Being able to answer these questions will help manage your return on investment. If you find that something is not working, you might consider modifying or eliminating it to allow you to focus on more impactful projects. Keep in mind that you don't necessarily need to recreate the wheel. Use your networks to identify peer institutions and programs to find out what colleagues in positions like yours are doing. How are they using technology and social media? Many institutions may have public resources available on a YouTube or Instagram page that you can find. You can also check out listservs and other professional forums as a space to connect with others and gather ideas for programming. You can also spend some time brainstorming with colleagues from your own institution. While none of us individually have all the answers, we can do really great work when we put our heads together. You may also take this time to develop yourself, especially if you find yourself with some open space on your calendar due to canceled programs or changing responsibilities. Watching this video is a great start, and there are a lot more ways to engage in professional development online through NASPA and other professional associations. Your institution may also offer online options for staff development, either academic courses or seminars offered through your Human Resources department. Consider focusing on what new skills you can learn or practice that might be especially useful right now. These could include online course design, graphic design, video production, or photography. Another avenue for continuing your professional development is to seek out scholarship updates. Some of us may not have been able to delve deep into the scholarly literature in our field since we ourselves were in school. Now is a great time to get the latest on research and reflect on how you can incorporate it into your work. In the midst of all of these questions we are asking ourselves about how we can continue to do our work effectively, let's also remember to maintain a community of caring. As we discussed before, this is a uniquely stressful time for almost everyone in society. Check in with yourself, your colleagues, and your students to keep healthy social connections alive and offer mutual support wherever possible. It's also important to practice grace and forgiveness. Transitioning to remote operations can upend many aspects of our lives, and we are all adapting to new processes, circumstances, and situations. Extend understanding to others, but also to yourself. There is no need to expect anybody to be perfect or at the top of their game right now. Make sure you aren't forgetting self-care, especially as you may be adapting to working from home. Consider what you can do to support your physical and mental health in the midst of these changes. This is our last tip for working effectively during this time. When you feel ready, consider taking some time to think toward the future by asking yourself some questions like these. How might what you and your colleagues are doing right now inform your return to normal operations? Maybe you enjoy working from home and can work with your supervisor to discuss an occasional telecommuting agreement. Or perhaps now that you are no longer physically with your coworkers, you are all learning new ways to communicate and manage work effectively that you can carry forward with you. You can also take some ideas implemented now and continue to use them moving forward. This may especially be the case if you are venturing into online programming for the first time, or making effective use of your department's social media platforms. Thanks for joining us for this quick video on how we can continue to do effective work during COVID-19. Please know that all of us here at NASPA are here to support you in any way we can, and are hard at work to support the profession through this difficult time. Make sure to check out our team's other videos, as well as NASPA's resources page related to COVID-19 for some more help as you adapt to remote operations. Best of luck, and please don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions.